Today's guest built a media empire out of Omaha, Nebraska, and just recently expanded to Arizona. In the time that I was actually putting this episode together, he announced another expansion to Des Moines. He's training some of the top high school, college, and the pro players in the game. And if you've seen some baseball content on social media, chances are you've seen him. Alex Hale is the mind behind Chip's Performance, and today we're talking the truth about baseball development, the business behind the baseball content, and what it takes to dominate in both. It is an honor to have you here, Alex. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, man? Glad to be here. Glad to see all the things you guys are doing. We talked
I appreciate that.
a while back, and we were in your mind on the baseball side, the business side, the content side. We clicked, and it's awesome to see everything you're doing. So, congrats to you too.
Man, I appreciate that, dude. What Alex is alluding to is I was getting into the baseball media space. I wasn't necessarily sure where I was going to fit in. I talk a whole lot with the 9-hole idea and the 9-hole structure and the embodiment of a 9-hole grinder that, like, man, if you want to play up to somebody's level, you try to surround yourself with people that are better than them, man. You try to play up to that type of level. Man, I had reached out to you. You were doing incredible things, man. And if you notice with this 9-hole content, how I'm going about the 9-hole, content strategy, man, it mirrors a lot of what you're doing, man. There isn't a whole lot different between the stuff that you are doing and what I'm trying to
Mhm.
emulate, man. There is insane value in what you're doing, dude. So I'm grateful, man. I'm so grateful for your time. So you have all this stuff going on, man. We've seen the content, dude. We've seen the players you're training, the lives you're shaping, the facilities now, right? The power moves. And at the end of the day, dude, you're a family man, right? As well as a top tier coach. What is life like for you right now, dude?
We got a lot of balls in the air. We got a lot of balls in the air, but we keep it simple, and I think that really helps us keep focused on the task at hand. Focus on number one always has to be player development and training our players. And from there, when you bring the right people in, we try to make sure we bring the right people on board, whether it's we open new facilities, having the right people there, and getting into Phoenix, Des Moines, and we'll be adding Lincoln. There's a lot of pieces you have to work together with, and to do that, you have to be working with the right people. And we feel like we're doing that, and so then we can let our strengths on the content side kind of come through and basically elevate everybody together. We think that there's enough of all of this to go around, and for people who want to do it the right way, and that's our main focus. And every day, we're grateful for the opportunities that we're getting. So that's where we're at right now. But we got a lot of balls in there. It's busy, for sure.
What's going on, everybody? We as baseball players, we as athletes, we all have something in common that we all share with one another. At some point, our careers are going to come to an end, whether we play 15 years in the league or whether we don't make it past high school or college. This is called the Money Playbook. So, this teaches financial concepts for student athletes, for professional athletes. It's got a bunch of financial concepts in there that I didn't learn until I was done playing. Go on over to Amazon and check it out. It's called the Money Playbook. It's written by Mark Tepper, who is an NFLPA registered investment advisor. So he has worked with a plethora of professional athletes. Like I said, go to Amazon. We'll leave the link in the bio and the description of this episode. It's a must-have. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Man, I love it. I love it. So you were training some of the best baseball players in Omaha, man. We've seen it. The lives that you guys are pumping out. You guys have just
Mm-hmm.
top tier talent swarming, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest myth in baseball training right now, in your opinion?
The biggest myth is that you have to be able to do what big leaguers are doing now. And if you go through the stages of development, everybody's at a different spot. And that's where we start with each guy is it doesn't matter what age you are in terms of, because there's so many variables with physical development, where you are mentally, what your experience levels are. And so it's starting where you're at, meeting them where they are and going from there and giving them a plan based on that. So once we do that, they're able to go, okay, I can see the vision now. Get away from comparing yourself to others, because all those guys and all our guys in the facility will tell you, we used to go around and say, like, all right, who is the best 13U player on their team, 14U player? Most of our guys are like, not me. Like we have one of our best players here now is like, I was the worst player on my 13U team. And nobody believes him now, but it's the reality. Kids develop at different ages and at different points in their high school and college careers. And you see that a ton of times with guys who get to the big leagues. Cause I think there's a lot of nuances to it. Like they appreciate all of a sudden the things they can do versus guys who might have grown early. And I was a guy who grew early, so that was always a paranoia of mine. Like, oh, I'm going to peak too soon. I'm not going to be able to do this. And so that kept me hungry. But for some guys, they get comfortable. And I think that's where you got to be careful with social media. You got to be careful with all the attention you put on it. Are you encouraging and reinforcing the right things? Are you focusing on the results? Are you focusing on the process? And so our place is really good because the guys are constantly seeing the other guys. And so the dudes are pushing the other dudes. And it just keeps them just uncomfortable enough that they don't take those extra days off. They don't get complacent. And I think that's the culture that we've created. And it's what separates our guys in terms of, they come in and they're not the only D1 guy here. They're not the only SEC guy here. They're not the only Big Ten guy here. And there's pro guys here. Our college guys all come back, and it gets pretty competitive. And then we just pull it all in and be like, this is what you're here for, and embrace it. Don't run from it. So that's part of what we're trying to do is mold young men and be who we needed when we were younger. And that's something that we talk about every day, and we just try to instill in our players.
Oof, man, I love that. You had mentioned, peaking early, man. We know that everybody develops at their own pace, dude. We know that everybody's career is going to materialize like in a different manner, right? Especially different times. Dude, you've trained thousands of athletes, man. What is like the most common trait that you see in guys who like plateau and hit their peak early and they just can't break through like that ceiling?
They look at the failures as failures. They look at them as mistakes and not lessons. And I think that's a big separator is taking things personally, taking it as a reflection of your ability. They get this guilt and shame to it. And we really try to free them up to go, you don't have to do that. You don't have to build it up into something more than it is. That's why we're big on journaling. We're big on, being able to look at things analytically and turn that 0 for 2 into the same mindset that you have when you go 4 for 4. Because we all know you can have a 3 for 3 day where you hit a little blooper, a little flare, and you're sitting there going, well, it looks good in the box score, but I didn't really have that good of a day. Versus a guy who maybe works a 9-pitch walk, hits 2 balls on the screws, and at the end of the day they're 0 for 2, and you're going, man, if you keep having days like that, you're gonna be onto something. But the 3 for 3 day with the swinging bunt and the flare and the bloop, they help pad the stats, but at the end of the day, that's not what you're trying to do every day to really develop and showcase your skills. So it's a give and take, and getting kids to get their head around that is one of the biggest challenges. And I think educating parents on the process, getting them to understand that piece really helps the players from an emotional standpoint. We talk a ton about emotional awareness and identifying your emotions. I think that's something that guys especially don't get talked to a lot about. And it's super important because once you start to understand your emotions, you start to be able to control them and gives them a little bit of perspective. And so that's a big part of what we do is guys sitting on this couch behind me just talking about stuff more so than, I mean, everybody's going to lift weights. Everybody's going to get, work on their swing. But if you can get your mind around where you embrace the challenge, embrace that it's going to get hard, now you're getting somewhere and now you're making some progress.
Mm. Dude, I love that, man. So you are, man, before we kind of dive into like the business side of stuff behind the scenes, man, the game has taken you like all over the country, man. You've been fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously playing your playing days, both in collegiate and like professional, dude. But dude, now you're seeing it like coaching side. So like regional talent, man. I've always heard growing up in the Northeast that I was always like behind the 8 ball, dude. Northeast grinders, it's a real thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always heard that dudes like down south and out in California, out west, they always had the upper hand, man. So like Omaha to Arizona, dude. What have you learned? What have you seen about regional talent? Is it insanely different, man?
It's not insanely different. I think the opportunities to get reps is definitely different. The skill positions, we tell guys all the time when you get into those cold winter months, if you're not working on your craft, if you're an infielder, you're a catcher, the real high skill position spots, you're gonna get left behind. And so I think guys in the warmer weather climates have a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to just getting reps, getting comfortable, being able to try different things in games. They get more comfortable in games. What I like about colder weather guys is they're always a little bit more excited. Even in the summer, they're always a little bit more excited for the games. It's not old hat yet. They're not going, oh, it's my 120th game this year. They're still itching to usually get going. And so there's a yin and a yang to it. I think there's a natural break in the winter. I mean, we make sure our guys, tone it down on throwing for at least 4 to 6 weeks. We have them throw footballs and play light catch because now we know that taking a complete break from throwing isn't the best thing for your arm either. And so all the stuff that's coming out, I think baseball is getting to a better place than it's been before, where there's some clarity. There's been a lot of the ideas and hype getting thrown around about different things, and we're kind of starting to settle back in to a little bit more of a, maybe it has more to do with hard work and being consistent than it does trying to light up a radar gun every time you throw a bullpen, or trying to do making it about all your exit velocity and launch angle. It's like letting those things kind of happen organically, because now that we can track them more consistently, guys are seeing it does ebb and flow. And that's, if you're a power lifter, you wouldn't go in and try to max bench or deadlift every day. There's a process to it, and educating players helps a lot. Also, letting them see the fruits of their labor while seeing other guys around them motivated to do the same thing really helps. So, but I think baseball's in a good spot right now.
I love that, man. I love that. We've seen like the game just, you had mentioned ebb and flow, so that's kind of what I'm going to like latch onto, but we've seen the game evolve so much, man. As of late, especially as I've gotten out of baseball, like at the back end of 2021, the shot clock, dude, to me was like mind blowing. I mean, we got torpedo bats now, and dude, it's crazy, man. I'm not even like going to go down the avenue of NIL and all that stuff. Like, do the coaches that we have on here at the Nine Hole, man, none of them can really kind of wrap their finger around where college baseball's going, man. But
Yep.
baseball as a whole, man, it seems like there's more excitement around the game right now, and that's cool. Seems like the demographics getting younger with viewerships and stuff. And dude, since I've come into like social media content or baseball media, it seems like it's extremely young, right? It skews young, and man, the younger generation eats that stuff up, dude. So I love it. It's crazy, right? Game is consistently evolving, and it's wild to see it behind the scenes too, right? Which is a perfect segue into like content and
Mm-hmm.
business strategy, all that type of stuff, dude. You've built one of the strongest baseball brands on Instagram, on TikTok, on multiple platforms, dude. Could probably lose myself in naming all of them, right? How did it start, man? What's the story behind that?
So I knew when we opened and we were getting going that I didn't want to be in a facility where we just sat around twiddling our thumbs if or when it got slow. So I said, we were sitting here one day and we've been trying to pump out content, and I think we were a little misguided in the beginning of doing it more like marketing. We were trying to market our business, and it kind of dawned on us after 243 videos, who are we trying to appeal to? Like, what are we trying to do? And we needed a more direct strategy. We needed to simplify. And so we took a step back and said, okay, objectively, how is our content doing? What are people interested in? What can we do that's sustainable? Like, we could put together, something crazy, but then like, can we do it again? And so we needed to make something that was sustainable, genuine, organic, and something that we enjoyed making. And ironically, my assistant, who's one of my close friends, she goes, put the sunglasses on. And I said, but we're inside. And she goes, nobody's watching our videos anyway. And I was like, she's got a point. So we threw the sunglasses on, and it was crazy how it just took off. And most of it was probably because the algorithm got filled with, why are you wearing sunglasses inside? But we realized that we kind of got people talking. And that was one of those kind of aha moments where you're like, okay, we need to simplify this. We need to provide as much value as we can in the space and be genuine, be authentic. Stop trying to do whatever our conceptual conceptual idea of marketing was, and really get down to what helps the community, making a platform for our players if they needed, if we needed to put out a video highlighting somebody, maybe whether it's to help them get recruited or whatever it was. We weren't even sure at the time. And we just started making content. And then we just, every 100 videos, we go back through them. We say, what were our 10 best? What were our 5 worst? All right, 5 worst, don't do that again. 10 best, what did we do differently? We started looking at how we started the video, the backdrop, what makes people swipe. We realized the psychology of what makes somebody swipe. Why were we watching videos from beginning to end? When we'd watch somebody's video, like what about it brought us in? What could we take from that and say, okay, we still want to be ourselves, but how can we do it so that our audience actually can connect with it? And so we still try stuff, but now we have a better idea of what we're doing when we're delivering it. And we're able to do a high volume of content because we do what we enjoy. We have a ton of fun with it. And we've gotten a lot more comfortable just being in front of the camera and doing all that stuff. Nothing crazy, nothing like that nobody else could do. We're just stubborn and consistent, and we make sure we take time to do it. We plan it. And honestly, we've had to learn how to do it because when we started and as we got into it during those 1 or 2 slow months a year, we were able to rely on it. And it's a lot different. It's a lot different when you're doing content that puts food on the table versus content because you're paid to do it or you're marketing for somebody or, it's a lot different. So you don't really care what you want. You go, what do the people want and what do they connect
Mm-hmm.
with? Because that is my audience. And if I'm not serving my audience, what am I doing here? So that was the biggest thing was we were able to take the ego out of it and say, what does our audience want? We can talk about spin rate and release height and all of the TrackMan data and the Edgertronic stuff. And we just realized that's going to go over so many people's heads. Let's bring as much value to the space, cast a big net, connect with people, and answer the questions that everybody's asking when they go to their kids' games, when they are getting into travel ball, when they're getting into recruiting. What is behind the curtain? Because we felt like there was a ton of stuff that people deserve to know that we had to learn the hard way, and we wanted to make it easier for everybody.
Mm. Dude, that just kind of like A, that's a masterclass right there, but B, that's the stuff that I feel like bottlenecked me, like held me back the most, man. I In the beginning I started making content about stuff that I thought was sick, that I like got
Mm-hmm.
excited about. And I'm wondering like, bro, why does this have like 4 likes or something like that? Change it up to maybe something that's a little bit more like, I don't know, something that other people care about as opposed to me. You would mention like providing value. You just wanted to provide the most value possible, dude. So when we are talking about higher level content, whether it's like, organic or whether it's like, you're testing on a bat or you are giving a shout out or you're plugging something, whatever it is, it's got to be top tier, bro. It's got to be professional. When we talk about this value, man, how do you personally define value when you're creating content and like what makes a post worth publishing in you and your team's eyes?
That's a good question. Um, well, we got away from
Appreciate it.
what do we like. We got away from you know okay, what do we think is the most interesting thing? And we said, okay, what kind of questions are people asking? How can we connect with it? It's like what you said, where you're posting stuff that you're excited about. Well, we still wanted to be excited about it, so we had to find a way to connect with the content and the information that we wanted to pass along, and find kind of the story within it that we could connect with, to where we remembered, why that was such a big deal, why that was so important to us at some point, and how we learned that. Because there's so much stuff that when you're in the baseball space for as long as I've been, you're like, well, yeah, everybody knows that. And then you forget, like, well, no, they don't know that. So don't be that guy and be rude and, gatekeep it. Like, help people out, like tell them and give them an insight into it. And not everybody's going to agree with you. And that's okay. Fortunately, being in the coaching environment and being in the travel ball world and watching kids get recruited and go through hundreds and hundreds of, commits and guys getting drafted, you're like, okay, this is, whether you like it or not, a hard truth that you have to realize. So you can come to terms with it, or you can fight it and until the day the baseball window ends for your player. And that's totally up to you. We always say, like, hey, we're just throwing this out there, take it or leave it. Because there's a lot of people who want to push, whether it's, I don't want to say a narrative, but they want to push something because it benefits them. Half the time we're talking, we're like, guys, this does not concern us. I don't care what you do. But here's what college coaches are saying. Here's what your coach is looking at. and what he wants you to get better at. And here is why it's important. So if we can address those things, now we're cooking. So when we're going to make content, we're like, okay, what's been done before? What have people talked about? Is what engages people, but at the same time isn't like copying other people's content, because we like it when people copy our content because we think that, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But when it comes to how other people content does, how other people do their content is not going to reflect us very well. And so we're constantly going, how do we put this into our words? How do we connect with our audience? Because now that, we last year we were at like, I don't know, 10,000 followers. Now we're at 22,000 or 200, sorry, 223,000 on Instagram alone. We're like, okay, we have kind of a duty to it, and we have an obligation to our audience to be real, to tell them the truth. Like if I start just telling you everything that we use is that we get sent is the best piece of equipment in the world, then we're not going to be doing a very good job. And so I thought I lost you there for a sec. I got you back. So we just want to make sure that we're always authentic with it. And so now as we are getting some partnerships with some brands, we make sure that those are brands we believe in, that not only that they stand for the right things. And so going forward, it's not, I'm not that good of an actor. I can't sell something I don't believe in. I can't, I think anything that when you get it on your phone and it looks like a pitch or it looks, like a promo, people just swipe right away. They're not going to watch it anyway. So just being authentic and being genuine, saying, hey, here's what we think works. If you like something else, cool, go with that. But this is something that we trust at this point.
Love it.
Here's the objective view. And so we stick with that. And we feel a duty to our audience to be authentic and transparent. And some of it, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe this could help you, but doesn't help us. I don't know. And so that being real, that authenticity goes a long way.
Yeah, dude, authenticity is absolutely huge, man. Like just kind of the way that you've been going about your business. We had talked about it, right? With the content aspect of stuff. I'm looking at the way that you kind of craft your thumbnails, especially on Instagram. 223,000 people is insane, bro. You know what I mean? We talk about
It
like high
escalated
level
quickly.
hitters and high level baseball players, like like leaves breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? Success leaves clues. You know what I mean? It's, dude. I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like, dude, man, there's a space in there for me. You know what I mean? And certain
Mm-hmm.
things work for certain reasons, dude. I don't know, man. I just being able to look at you and what you're doing and kind of use like Chip's performance as a North Star, dude. It's incredible. You know what I mean? And being able to like balance all of that stuff, being able to balance the media aspect, being able to balance like the development, dude, and be a coach on the side of that. It's crazy, dude. So
It's a lot.
223,000 followers
Yeah.
on Instagram is
Mm-hmm.
wild, dude. What are creators doing wrong when it comes to building traction and building an audience, especially like around Instagram, all the other platforms?
I, I think so. We get that. We've learned a lot about ourselves from talking to businesses that come in and want to pitch us ideas and work with us. And one of the things we realized that was we were very unique in our niche, and we were one of the only places that we were doing content, we were doing mixing it up, doing some kind of entertaining stuff. We weren't afraid to make a fool of ourselves, but we were also doing it while operating in the training space. We have our own facility. We all coach. Like we're deep in it, which is part of why we never run out of content, because we're seeing the players every day. And so like there's always ideas popping up and kids are talking about stuff and our college guys are reaching out and our pro guys are talking. It's like there's always stuff going on. It's just like when baseball guys are, BSing back and forth, it's like there's always ideas there. And so we're constantly we have so much content, in terms of like topics that we can go over. We don't run out of those. So that helps. I think, I don't think a lot of content creators are doing things wrong. I think they're looking at it, the, they're not looking at it the right way sometimes. Think about the content that you watch. Think about the content that kids watch. There's simple things like camera angles changing. You got to mix up. If you watch a movie, how long does it stay on the same shot? Never more than 2 or 3 seconds. There's a reason for that. So you try to just move it a little bit, being excited, being engaged. Some people, if you try to be cool when you're doing content, it just comes off like this, and it comes off really monotone and boring when you don't mean it that way. But you have to get over that. You have to understand how you're being perceived on camera. And my assistant was great when we were first starting content. She goes, I need '95 Huskers national championship energy. And I was like, that just sounds crazy. But when we did it on camera, it looked like it was supposed to. It looked just engaging and not boring. Like I was disinterested in it. We cut out a lot of the spaces when we edit to make it go a little faster. Sometimes people are like, hey, slow it down. We only got a minute and a half on Instagram. So like TikTok, you can go longer. Long form, you can go longer. And we're getting into the long form space, and that's a whole nother animal that we're really excited about getting into. The podcast space is so good. I'm just not a natural podcast like interviewer. Like you're really good at like all of the pieces that are into it, and it's not my thing. And so I'm like trying to, I stay in my lane is another thing that we do. I think with creators, stay in your lane and then just be consistent because you don't learn when you don't make anything. Some people say, well, I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, but who's going to be better at making clay pots? The guy who makes 1,000 of them or the person who spends a year making one? It's like the person who makes 1,000 of them because they're going to get way better at it. And so focus on that. When you hit volume, you get better at it. And then you get way more to learn from when you have, like, we post 3 times a day. It's like, it's a lot of content. We've done 1,400 pieces of content now. And we've learned so much from each of those. When we can go through 14 sessions of 100 and improve each time, we just notice that it keeps getting better and we're able to connect with more people from the way we structure it to the way we just kind of put it into our formula of like, all right, here's our topic. Let's do a hook. Let's engage them, surprise them, conclude it. Because you don't want to sit there and linger. You want to make sure you get into the point. So that's how does the viewer see it? How do they engage with us? How can we make it more entertaining, better next time? And that's what we focus on. So now we're going to be able to shoot in all of our new facilities, which is going to be really cool. We're going to shoot a ton of content in each one. And so everybody's going to get, inside behind the scenes kind of views of all the stuff that's going on in Des Moines and Phoenix and Lincoln and all of the stuff that we have coming, which is going to, we're just getting started. So it's going to be kind of crazy. But right now we're really getting focused on the College World Series. After we go for our grand opening in Phoenix, that'll be really cool. And then we're going to get Des Moines rolling. Des Moines 3 times the size of our space. So each facility is unique. It's really, really cool.
Oh,
But yeah, it's a lot of stuff up in the air. Yeah.
dude, that is insane. You got a ton of stuff going on, dude. I love that. Appreciate you obviously elaborating there, man, and diving a little bit into like what's coming up next, man. Like if we were to fast forward, Alex, like 10 years from now, bro, and you're kind of looking at everything that Chip's performance and your brand, and kind of like your legacy, dude. What that stands for, man. What do you want the name Chip's performance to stand for, like in the baseball world, dude? What are you trying to leave behind?
I want to leave behind players that passed it along and that helped the next guy. And when people think of Chips, I want them to think of not only like positive experiences, but a place that whether it was as a player or when they got done, a place they could come back and work and be around the guys, something that created that experience, that feeling of belonging. Because I think that's the unique thing that we bring to this space is we want people to feel connected. We want development to be an experience. We don't want you to feel like you're doing it alone. And so in the space, personalizing it, making it not just, individualized programming and stuff, but like we know their names when they walk in. Like the coaches greet everybody. There's a little bit of that kind of like Disneyland, Universal Studios environment where like when you come in, it's supposed to be an experience. And we add that into everything we do. We talk about it constantly, but it's not only saying it, but then actually doing it. And when our players come in, we got like 27 different high schools in here, we got 40 different colleges every off season, like just guys getting together. And then when they all come together, they fit within that culture and the bonds and relationships they create are stuff that they're going to have, for the next 50 years. And so that's been really, really cool to see. And Chips was always designed. That's why it's not called like Alex Hale baseball or whatever. Like I don't need to be the guy for it. I'm like the Mickey Mouse on it. I get that. But if Mickey Mouse gets you to Disney and then you fall in love with the other characters and you fall in love with the experience in the place, it's like if I can do that, if that's my role in this whole thing at the end of it, I'm totally cool with that. because it's not about me. It's about the coaches and the staff and the players and the lives we're able to change. Because I think on a grand scale, there's so many people in baseball who want to do baseball, who want to do training, who are juggling multiple jobs. I've been there when you're like juggling, your normal job, trying to run off to coach a travel game, then you're doing lessons. And this allows guys to actually start to look at getting into baseball as more of a career, as more of a path to stay connected to the game, do something they're passionate about, and if nothing else, when they get done, giving them a bridge from baseball to their next career path, because that was a place for me that I got lost in. And I don't want that to happen to other players. I want them to be able to get their feet underneath them when baseball does end, because it ends for everybody. And then if they want to get into coaching, if they want to get into baseball, if they want to get into the medical field or business or whatever they want to get into, but giving them a chance to catch their breath and say, okay, what do I want to do from here? And keep them in that team environment with the guys around them, because you don't want to sit around and isolate and be alone after you get done with baseball. I'll tell you that right now. And that's where a lot of guys get to. And that's where the mental health part becomes a huge thing. We want chips to be a vessel for a lot of good things. And that's one of our primary things, is taking care of players when they're done playing, giving them an opportunity to get their feet underneath them. If they want to do some lessons, if they want to do some training, they have the opportunity to do that. If they want to make coaching a career, if they want to get into content creation, whatever they want to do, we're here to help, but we don't want them to feel alone. And so that's, besides our player training, that's probably our second most important thing. And we just feel like we're going about the whole thing in a unique way. We're trying to build chips together, not, it doesn't have to be one guy. It doesn't have to be, if I get you to come into a chips, or if I get you to tune in, cool. But you're gonna connect with your coach when you come in here, whether that's me or whether that's one of our other 20 great coaches. But it's the connections that you make on an individual level are what's going to make it special. And that's what we found, and that's what we're always going to lean on as we go forward. We have all kinds of great plans to get, to open up in different places, but it's always about connecting with the right people, and it has to be with people who do it the right way. And if you do that, we're all in on you, and that's what we're trying to build.
Mm, mm. It's amazing, man. I love that, dude. I appreciate you, Alex, man, for coming on here, letting me run you through the gauntlet of questions. Obviously, opening it up about kind of the man behind the brand, dude. It's been awesome to ask you these questions, dude. I got one more question for you, man, before we get out of here. Man, what is your message to the next generation of baseball players who want to make it and build something special? Obviously, like, making it looks different for every baseball player, man. But like, what type of message do you have for the next generation of players that want to maximize their career and build something special?
The hardest thing to do is to just play hard and have fun all the time, regardless of the outcome. But that's the cheat code. If you can do that, if you can embrace that it's hard, if you can embrace that you don't win every at bat, you don't win every pitch, you don't make every single play, and recognize that if you do start to do those things, you're going to level up. Pretty soon you're going to get either asked to play in an older age group, you're going to get asked to play at a higher level. The game is always going to be challenging, and that's what makes it great. Part of the fact that it's so unfair that you can hit a ball in the screws, you can make a perfect pitch, and the guy can still hit it out. You can, make the play, and I mean, replay kind of, throws us in there, but like you said, bad calls you had to deal with more often. But I think what makes it unfair is a lot of times what makes it special, and it's what connects baseball people together, is that, like, you all know you've been through that. It's not other sports where, if you're way taller than everybody, it helps, or if you're way bigger than everybody, it helps a ton. Like, baseball players come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, man. And that's the best part about it. You watch guys in pro ball, the minor leagues, like, you don't even have to speak the same language to be able to be a really, really good team, and to be able to develop and play the game and have fun together, because you unite through the difficult things. And whether it's running a facility, playing games, coaching, you're going to find the beauty in all of it if you're able to sit back and kind of embrace that. Or you can fight it the whole way through and let it eat you up and make you miserable. But you got to understand that those are choices. You can choose to do one or the other. And so that's what I would pass along to kids is, if you really want to make it, learn to enjoy challenging yourself and trying to get better at what you're not good at, double down on your strengths, Don't ever compare yourself to somebody else because that's just going to make you frustrated. And enjoy the process of always just trying to get a little bit better because that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it special.
Mm. Oof, dude, I love that. I love that, Alex. Dude, I appreciate you, man. What you've built, dude, from the players you're developing to the way that you've impacted the online space, dude, to the example that you're setting as a business owner. It's something I have an insane amount of respect for, bro. I appreciate you coming on here. You didn't. We talk about like creating opportunities and stuff, and like owning your career. Owning your talents as a baseball player, man. You didn't just like wait around to be noticed, right? You created something that pretty much couldn't be ignored, right? We talk about being a bench player, man. Shit, if you don't like it, play better, right? You created the opportunity, man. I absolutely love it, dude. I respect it a ton. It's awesome to have you here. And if you are listening to this right now, if you are watching this right now, whether you're a player, a coach, or a creator, I hope you realize what's possible when you combine a real value with consistency. Alex, dude, I appreciate you pulling back the curtain, man, for showing the people the truth and for pushing the game forward, bro. Please, I hope to get you back on here soon, man.
Anytime. You can call me anytime. I'd love to be back on. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in here. We'll catch you again next time. Keep grinding.